So we've already got a lot of information in there about sort of, who does a PR-4 report and somewhat a little bit about what a PR-4 report is. But, as we've sort of mentioned in other things in the past, there's no set in stone formal procedural training for how one is done. So that is sort of the reason why we have so much content that has to do with PR-4 report and why RateFast exists is just because of the complexity of the whole thing itself, as well as the lack of formal education in terms of what to expect when writing one, what the adjuster expects to see and everything. So, like I said, we got a little bit into it already, but can you elaborate on what a PR-4 report is?
Sure, absolutely. So the PR-4 report is performed, and this is kind of a key piece of information, when the patient is determined to be at something we call maximal medical improvement. And this means that the condition is stable and will not significantly change within the next 1 year with or without additional treatment. And what does it really mean? Well, it means that all reasonable treatment has been offered, authorized, or accepted by the patient. So, for instance, a doctor might say, well, this patient needs a knee surgery to get better, but the insurance company didn't approve it, and maybe it gets denied on appeal. So you don't just keep that case open until some future unknown time when the patient can get their knee surgery. Basically, that surgery is not available at that time. The patient's maybe gone through therapy, tried all the medications, maybe an injection. So everything's been tried. They've gotten as good as they can get, and therefore they are determined to have reached maximal medical improvement. Now, one thing I do want to point out, it's very, very important to understand, and this is a common misconception in California workers' comp, that the body parts are rated when they each become maximally medically improved. And claims contain body parts, but claims do not reach maximal medical improvement. So this means that maybe your shoulder that was a minor injury recovered fully or partially, and that one's ready to rate right now. But the low back and the injury actually is going to need a surgery. It's going to need a year of rehab, all kinds of pain management and stuff. And that may actually become maximally medically improved at 1 to 2 years later after the shoulder. So the key understanding here is that this is about the best improvement that the patient can attain. This isn't about patients who get worse and worse over time, because it's called maximal medical improvement. So the key to understanding is that, have they gotten as good as they will get, again, assuming that everything's been offered, completed, or accepted? Because sometimes a patient is just not ready to have a surgery, for instance. And if that's the case, go ahead and make them permanent and stationary. Say they're at maximal medical improvement, and we'll talk about something called future care, where if they change their mind or their condition changes, etc., they can go ahead and have a surgery in the future, but it doesn't have to delay the maximal medical improvement determination. Now, as I said before, each body part needs to have an MMI report done, a PR-4 report. Now, the other thing that is important is that every case in California that's recorded, and I won't go into what determines a recorded case, but every case in California actually has to have a PR-4 report. And it's just like every case that's recorded needs a doctor's first. Every case, needs a follow-up called a PR-2, and every case actually has to have a PR-4 to be determined as complete by the stakeholders. And these reports are very important because they will outline the final elements of loss that are present or absent when the claim is quote unquote complete or settled. Because that way, think about it, the patient goes off to another job, they hurt the same body part. If they were released, just under a PR-2 or no impairment, there's going to be a big mess on the hands for the carriers trying to figure out, well, is this a residual left over from the old injury, or is this from the new injury? Who's responsible for this? And now you've created a whole can of worms for stakeholders to try to figure out, well, there was never a PR-4 report. How do we know how well they were? Was there impairment? All these questions that come up. So that's really a key concept, is that if you have a recordable case, you have to be preparing a PR-4 report.